Hi, welcome back to Cinesum. This movie name will be revealed at the end. Please watch till the end. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The morning of the movie is set nearly during the alternate World War in Berlin. The Führer Hitler is with a Geist trainer named Keppel. Hitler expresses his disagreement with the gesture of people's chatting to Keppel. He complains that though the Nazi salutation is out-fashioned, people need to at least raise their hands up to the wrist and show respect. Also, he narrates that he has done everything possible by immortal to destroy the foundations of the adversary who profane their soil. He finds Germans' actuality incomprehensible, and finds it intimidating that he's then too. In the ensuing scene, he wakes up on the ground nearly in a timber. While looking up to the sky, he sees that the adversary aircrafts are missing, and suppositions that they might have taken some rest. Suddenly, a ball comes bouncing towards him and stops just at his side. He raises himself and heads towards a structure past the backcountry. He's also approached by three youthful kiddies who question him if he's okay. Hitler looks at them and thinks that they're the future of the nation. He also asks them the way to the road. In that moment, a journalist, Fabian Sawatsky, is rephotographing the kiddies on his camera. Hitler is seen on the far side of the screen. He picks up his army cap and says to himself that he should go to the Führerbunker. Hitler gets to the road and gets amazed at people riding monowheel bikes. He finds people landing him in their camera and expresses that though the debris went, people have gone frenetic. Also, he feels of ultramodern auto by his hand and questions himself if he fell in a coma and missed the palm. He realizes that he's not apprehensive of his situation completely and cautions himself to collect further information. Also, he asks a man about the position of Chancellery, but the person rather asks him for a picture. He gets disturbed by the camera's flashes as people come near him and take prints in turns. Confused by the unusual events around him, he concludes commodity went out of hand in the place. As Hitler walks down, he finds a woman speaking in German on her phone. He comes closer and asks her about the current date, but the woman gets alarmed and sprays his eyes. Hitler cries in pain as his eyes get sanguine, and his vision gets blurred. He stumbles and walks to a review shop hard. He gets shocked to see the date October 3, 2014, written on the paper and falls to the ground at formerly, nearly differently, the master of a television station, Kerner, praises Christof's Senbrink for his excellent job as the deputy's head. He proposes an advanced result, but rather announces another worker named Miss Katja Bellini as the managing director. Due to this, Christof gets shocked and displeased. He comes to his office and reflections his wrathfulness out at a floundering filmmaker named Fabian. Despite Fabian's stylish attempts to move his master, he gets fired and thrown out by the guards. Some time laterally, Hitler wakes up at the news shop and asks the proprietor about the date. He confirms that it's in fact 2014. A confused Hitler questions if the shopkeeper has abducted him and suspects if all this is a trick play of the adversary's secret service. He threatens to kill the shopkeeper if he's working for the adversary, but the shopkeeper gives him a bar of chocolate rather. Hitler opens it after quite a struggle and sniffs it. He declares it is industrially pressed grain and questions the shopkeeper if there's still a deficit of chuck. The shopkeeper asks Hitler if they're rephotographing a talkie nearly hard, mistaking him for an actor. The shopkeeper also says that he looks exactly like the Führer, to which Hitler replies that he's the Führer. After that, Hitler sees the Turkish review and asks if the shopkeeper has Sturmer or Panzerber. The shopkeeper says that he has further Turkish guests. Hitler gets astounded at the presence of Turkish people in Berlin. He also starts collecting information from the review. While reading it, he assumes that he did an apostrophe T win the war in the history, and Germany was given to the hands of clumsy women, having the seductiveness of a wet pate. He further laments the actuality of Poland, and concludes the war to be a total waste. Meanwhile, Fabian looks upon his videotape reporting about soccer and heartbreaks, sad at the fact that he was fired. His mama calms him and asks him to break the videotape, noticing Hitler before. Fabian is regaled at the discovery of a person who looks so analogous to Hitler. Back in the shop, the shopkeeper asks Hitler to keep the review away and stand outdoors. Hitler grievances at being asked to work. The shopkeeper suggests Hitler clean his clothes, for they're stinking. He also goes to a laundry place and asks them to clean his livery. Hitler asks if they've another livery since he cannot walk down naked. Next, we see Hitler walking to the news dealer with jeans and a sweater on. Fabian, on the other hand, has ever managed to find him, and is staying for him in the shop. After getting a look at Hitler, he's amazed at his appearance. Fabian asks Hitler if he can retake him as he marches through ultramodern Germany. Hitler agrees with the idea. Fabian takes up some cash and an auto from his mama and starts his trip with Hitler. The two end up in a hostel where Hitler gets regaled at seeing the TV. He also decides to talk about politics in Fabian's donation. He goes to places asking people regarding their views on politics. After the interviews, he finds that there was minimum impact of Republic upon people during his absence. He inspects disgruntlement and suppressed wrathfulness in people, which reminds him of the 1930s, when people had analogous views, but demanded the term political disenchantment. People tell Hitler about the problem of emigrants in the country, making Hitler push his idea that mixing the races does not work. Latterly, Fabian asks Hitler the source of his unique mustache. Hitler replies that he cut his mustache to the shape to fit a gas mask. A while latterly, the two end up in a ranch where Hitler gets bit by a canine. He's enraged and shoots at the beast. Fabian scolds him and seizes the gun. As the stint goes on, Fabian ultimately runs out of cash. But he thinks of a plan and convinces the passers to have their sketches drawn by Hitler. Hitler draws sardonic filmland, which people find funny and pay for it. They continue their trip after collecting enough plutocrat. Back in city, Fabian shows a clip of Hitler to Christoph. The videotape has a lot of views as Fabian had uploaded it on the internet. Christoph is impressed by the large number of views in the videotape. He asks Fabian for Hitler's name and contact number. After meeting him, Christoph suspects Hitler to be a lunatic and asks Fabian to take him down from the office. Before leaving, Hitler enters the director's office and asks her to save Germany together with him. Interested at the idea, Bellini asks him about the plan. She snappily asks her adjunct to prepare a proper television format for broadcasting the Führer on hearkening to Hitler's idea. Fabian also threatens Christoph to give him his job back, or differently, he'll take Hitler down. On hearing this, Christoph makes him a kitchen boy, promising to promote him when a new editorial post opens up. Sometime latterly, Hitler is given a table in the television plant. Christoph calls for Kromeyer to help Hitler with computer use. Hitler recalls the computers of his days and markers the invention to be one of the topmost. Kromeyer tries to subscribe up Hitler to post, but informs him that his name is formerly taken. Hitler grunts for others stealing his name, and tells her to use new Reich Chancellery as he liked it. Christoph plans to put Hitler on a live comedy show called Whoa Dude. He's still salty because Bellini got a creation rather of him, and intends to produce trouble for her. He intends to bring racism to the debate through sardonic jokes on Jews, and throw out Hitler. The show starts, and Witzigmann, the host, calls for Hitler on the stage. The followership gossipers about Hitler's appearance, but when Hitler gazes at the followership, the hall gets fully silent. Hitler soon breaks the silence, but doesn't read out the lines as scripted. He explains that he is to tell a joke about immigrants, but he's not going to do so. He says that a television is a great invention of the mortal, but the shows broadcasted are gibberish. He sheds light on problems like poverty and severance and vaticinations, that the people of the country are heading towards the ocean without noticing it. Hitler vows to fight against the television not only over to the broadcast of the ocean, but also until he succeeds in prostrating them. Everyone likes the idea and blasts for him. Seeing Hitler's fashionability, the host Witzigmann gets invidious. Bellini asks Christoph to broadcast Hitler in every show. Christoph is worried because of the failure of his plan. In the ensuing scene, we see Hitler give interviews on multitudinous television shows and share that his motive is to make Germany great again. His fashionability grows immensely, and he meets several people and party leaders. He starts fascinating them all by participating his ideas. One day, Hitler and Fabian visit NPD headquarters in Berlin. He calls for Ulf Bern, the federal chairman of NPD, and asks him what his cause has achieved so far. Hitler belittles him and says that they've wasted enough time, and the movement is taken suddenly by decades due to their words. Christoph gets agitated and happy when the Bobbies and District Attorneyda appear at the television plant. They explain that they're then for a complaint of charging violation of hate laws. Bellini asks what they're to do also. Snappily, Christoph pops that they might need to cancel the Führer show. The DA says that they can keep the broadcasting on. Bellini takes a shriek of relief while Christoph fakes his smile. After the DA leaves, Kromeyer hands over a letter to Christoph, stating the payment of the canine which Hitler had shot before in his trip. Christoph receives the letter happily, believing it might be a way to beget trouble. Next, Hitler is put to a television program where he is asked direct questions about his different places in the war. Hitler responds that he wants to reach out to people, but the canvasser tells him that all his deeds cannot be justified. He shows him the clip of him shooting the canine. The videotape disturbs the followership. Hitler is infuriated and threatens him that he'd do the same to him. He further says that he'll turn their plant into a parking lot for tanks. Christoph gets happier seeing people's negative responses. After the disastrous interview, Bellini is fired, and Christoph is appointed as the new director. After that, Hitler goes to Fabian's house and starts living with him. He expresses recreation at the path taken by fortune, and starts to write his alternate book. The book soon hits the request. 3 months laterally, at the television plant, everyone sits in a meeting where the massive loss that the company has gone through is bandied. Christoph believes that Witzigmann's show will put them back on track, but one hand informs him that he has quit his job. Christoph gets strained and gets frenetic at the named workers for losing the show. One of the staff suggests getting Hitler back, which interests Christoph. He looks for Hitler again, and offers Fabian that he'll invest $1 million in the film that Fabian and Hitler are shooting if they in return let them broadcast the movie on their television. Hitler and Fabian come to Kromeyer's house where Kromeyer's grandmother identifies Hitler. She claims that Hitler gladdened all the people up and killed them. She calls him a felonious and shouts him to get out. In the auto, Hitler shares that he's surprised at Kromeyer being a Jew. He starts to belittle Jews, calling them lower of humans. Fabian gets dissatisfied at Hitler's conduct and his words. Back in the set, Fabian gets Hitler to renewal how he got to the place. He asks Hitler what happened before the ball came rolling to him in the forest land, but Hitler cannot flash back it. Laterally at night, he walks out of the set and is girdled by some goons. They call him the reason to take Germany back and give him a hard blow on his face. As Hitler opens his eyes, he finds himself in a sanitarium in front of Bellini. At the same time, Fabian looks over the footage of the videotape he captured about the boys in soccer. He looks nearly at it, and finds Hitler rose from where he was lying. Fabian gets amazed at what happened before it. He snappily goes to the place and finds a board at the position, stating the literal position of Führerbunker. Fabian rushes to the sanitarium, but does not find Hitler. Bellini says that he's headed to the firing set. Fabian reveals that he's the real Adolf Hitler, but Bellini doesn't believe him. Fabian acts frenetic and tries to explain his proposition hysterically. The guards try to catch him, but he flees. Fabian also reaches the set and aims a gun at Hitler. When asked about his identity, Hitler explains that he no way claimed to be anyone differently. Fabian says that Hitler is chaffing people with his propaganda, to which Hitler replies that people tagged a leader who participated his whole idea openly in 1933. Fabian takes Hitler to the top of a structure with his gun. He corners Hitler and declares him to be a monster. Hitler, in turn, blasts back saying that ordinary people tagged an extraordinary man and entrusted the fate of the country to him. He explains that people chose him because they bear the same values in their inner hearts. An enraged Fabian shoots Hitler, making him fall down the structure onto the road. Soon, Fabian hears Hitler's voice, who says that no German can get relief of him, and Hitler, who was just thrown down, appears right behind it again. Just also, Bellini calls for a cut in the plant, and everyone cheers for the shoot. Turns out that it was just a film shoot, and an arbitrary actor was playing the part of Fabian. Hitler also asks everyone to flash back the comrades who couldn't be with them. Nearly differently, Kromeyer is blubbing, seeing Fabian through a hole in the internal ward. Hitler and Bellini are busy giving signatures and interviews to people after the film thunderclaps. As they pass by Otto, the people on the road feel fond of Hitler and hail him with respect. This is German satirical comedy film called Look Who's Back. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to watch more cine summaries like this, turn on notifications and press the like button to support us.